When wanting to create something, we all have ideas, but many times the ideas look like this. Yeah. This is how this video and my last first started. When starting, I have a general idea of where I want to go, the North Star. In this case, it's my process breakdown. Nothing fancy. To expand this to a fully fledged script, I first have to go into what I call the word vomit phase. In this phase, allow yourself to write down any thought that comes to mind. Even if I don't know where to place an idea yet, I write it down somewhere. Sometimes these random thoughts turn into something bigger. This phase should be completely non-judgmental. The goal isn't to make sense, it's just to get everything out. Here are some rules I like to follow. 1. Write how you speak. Don't try to sound like someone else. Write your idea exactly how you would say it. The first draft isn't about being polished. It's about being authentic. 2. Allow yourself to jump from idea to idea. Our brains aren't always linear. Let it roam. Some ideas will be gold and some will be garbage. But forcing yourself to stay on one idea too long can kill your creativity. And 3. When I first started making content, I used to think I couldn't script and be authentic at the same time. But honestly, that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive at all. If I want to provide a good story and good value, scripting is actually the way to go. Now that the script is done, it's now time to act it out. When watching behind the scenes of voice actors, one common thing they do is act out their lines even if their voice is the only thing being recorded. So, try to do the same. I know that it can feel a little awkward recording a voice note, but if you feel awkward saying it, you will feel awkward hearing it. The art of voiceover is more than just reading off a page. It's acting out the words on the page. When recording your voiceover, speak like you're speaking to a friend. The same emotion you would give telling your friend the story of your day, give us. Don't be afraid to pause, emphasize, and elongate. Allow yourself to chuckle, laugh, whatever is natural. There's a rhythm to how we speak. Don't lose that. But also don't be someone you're not. If it helps, stand up, use hand gestures. Even though the audience won't see it, you'll probably end up speaking more naturally. Now, here's a gem that I often do when I'm recording voiceover. Record to a song. Before recording, pick a song that reflects the tone of what your video will feel like. If your video is fast-paced, but you're recording to a voiceover that's slow, the two could clash. Put on one headphone and play the song that you're likely to put in your video, so that you're recording on beat. Here's a snippet of my last video. And here you can hear the sound bleeding through my headphones while recording. For these hobbies, it's just not really who I'd like to become. Across my journey of being an artist, I've occasionally been told the variation of, a little bleeding is fine if you're going to put music over the voiceover at the end of the day, plus you can always isolate it. Great voiceover sets the mood, but without the right visuals, the story falls flat. This is where shot listing comes in. It's the difference between shooting with intention and aimlessly pressing record hoping to figure it out later. A clear shot list gives you direction, keeps your visual aligned with your message, and most importantly, saves you time. If you have other priorities, school, a job, a partner, or anything else that requires your time, you can't afford to not plan your shots. And the best part is, you can do this anywhere. When shot listing, I use a table where I put each line of dialogue I imagine needing a shot and a description of that shot. When creating the shot list, you can either be super descriptive or have a general idea of what your camera will be pointed at and the action that will take place. What matters most is that your notes make sense to you, not some person you imagine will one day read your notes. You're going to be referring to this table the entire time while you're shooting, so if you don't know what you mean when you wrote dolly into face, medium shot, 10 feet away as I pace back and forth, you'll just end up confused as to what you meant. Also remember that your shot list is a guide, not a prison. Try to come up with as many shots as you can, but if you get stuck between the lines or aren't sure what visuals to create, leave space and allow yourself to figure it out while recording. I'll explain how I do this in a bit. Just have a backbone, a clear path for how your visuals will flow. And remember, the creative process isn't always linear. It's a living, breathing thing. Your shot list should give you structure while leaving room for spontaneity. Now, it's actually time to bring those shots to life. Now, no matter how much you plan, things will go wrong. The light will change, a shot won't work, or you'll realize something's off. That's normal. This part for me is the most experimental. If I don't like a shot, I'll just try something new, even if it's not in the shot list. Like I said earlier, a video for me is alive. Now, should you shoot in order or out of order? For these videos, since I have the voiceover, I'm actually shooting in chronological order as I go. Not every project works like this, but in this case, it helps me stay in sync with the pacing and the mood of the video. If it's a reenactment of a voiceover, as if I'm speaking to the camera, something like now, I'll play the line on loop, practicing out loud until I can perform it. Once I've got it down, I'll press record and repeat it until I think I've got the take. This can sometimes mean saying it over 10 times. Now, the next thing is super important. Just like the voiceover, you have to act out the words. Acting out what you're saying not only makes it seem like you're actually speaking the words, but also make people feel like they're watching a show, movie, or entertaining video. Be the character in your story. How I see what I'm filming in real time. When shooting, I have a monitor I connect my camera to so that while I'm shooting, I know exactly what the camera's looking at. I used to have to record something, hope I framed it right, and repeat the process of going back and forth from camera to my mark. This is just a regular computer monitor I bought a backplate for. This allows me to just put it on a stand and connect it to my camera. I connect it using a regular HDMI cable, and you probably can too. Most cameras have an output. It might be a full-size HDMI like my camera, and some cameras might have a mini or micro HDMI to HDMI cable. If you don't know, do a quick which HDMI cable does X camera use. Now, lighting. This can be a whole video within itself because it can get very complex. But here's the core of how I light my scenes. 4 color changing bulbs to light the room a certain color, a panel light to light my face, a monolight for when I need a lot of light, and a tube light for when I need to light an object. Now I know that being someone who already owns this gear, it's very easy for me to tell you, you don't need all of this, but just remember that these are tools, and with like making food, each meal calls for a different thing. I don't always use this. If not having one tool is stopping you from trying to create, it might just be an excuse. I'm not always using each light. Sometimes I only use the light that comes in from my window. But if you want to know how to light cinematically, here are 2 rules that I always stand by. 1, Rembrandt lighting will never fail you. And 2, shoot the dark side. Rembrandt lighting is when one side of your face is mostly lit from a light source, and then you have this small little triangle on the other side of the face. And one thing that you always want to do is shoot from the dark side. Instead of putting the camera to my left side where the light is coming from, I instead put it on the other side, so it's like my face is being sandwiched by the camera and the light itself. What this does is that it creates more depth so it doesn't look flat. So if you notice in most movies and TV shows, they'll mostly shoot from the dark side of the face. Sometimes when I want to shoot and I don't know where to light, I'll just turn on big light source, or I'll have like the window and then I'll just shoot on the other side of it. You want to make sure that the light is just slightly above the eye level. It mimics the way that sunlight naturally hits us and our brain finds that pleasing. If you just stick to those 2 principles of having the light source on the other side and you're shooting from this side, you'll be fine. You can shoot the whole video, but if you never edit it, it's like it never even happened. If you followed along so far, this part should be simple. You have the voiceover, the list of how you want it to look like, and the actual footage itself. Now, it's just plugging it all in. It should all fit into the plan that you created. If you did the prep right, editing isn't problem solving, it's sculpting. This is where you get to see your masterpiece come to life. The first thing I do is a rough cut, which is exactly what it sounds like. I drop in the voiceover as a foundation, lay down the clips in order, and see what I got. This part is not about making it pretty, it's about seeing if the story flows. This is the part where if something feels off, it's time to rearrange or replace the clips. This might even mean reshooting, which kinda sucks. Think of it like a puzzle. You're just placing the corner pieces before the middle. And then you can start working towards the middle. But just get the corner pieces, have that structure, and then everything else will flow. Step 2, refine the edit. Remove dead air, awkward pauses, or any unnecessary fluff. If I'm watching something and I want to take out my phone because I'm getting bored, cut. I used to think that everything I posted was so special that this rule didn't apply to me. Trust that it does. Step 3, color grading. Color grading, like lighting, can get very complex, but here's something that when I learned, changed it all for me. Color correct, then color grade. Color correction is the art of making something look like what it's actually supposed to look like. Is the color too warm? Tone down the temperature. Too purple? Shift the tint. Too bright or dark? Adjust the exposure. You get the idea. Now once that's done, you can design your image, aka color grade. Most cinematic movies and high-end ads use split toning, which means separating the color temperature between the subject and the background. Often the background is slightly cooler and the skin tones stay warm and natural. The next time you watch a movie or a TV show like The Bear, try to notice the split tone. A good color grade enhances the story. It doesn't distract from it. Also, quick tip, try not to use saturation or vibrance as much. It just makes the skin look orange and doesn't really make it look natural. Now, sound design. Sound design is one of those things that when done right, nobody notices. But when done wrong, everyone feels it. It's the difference between a video feeling immersive and real or flat and lifeless. Most people think of sound design as just music, but it's way more than that. It's the subtle details, the things you don't consciously hear but make the scene feel alive. When I edit, I don't just drop in a music track and call it a day. I layer multiple sounds to make a video sound richer. A well-designed scene can have 4 or more layers of audio working together. There's background ambience or room tone. Even in a quiet room, there's some sound. Just listen. It's not completely silent. Without it, the scene can feel too sterile and empty. Folly, or everyday sounds, footsteps, clothing rustlings, door opening. These are small details and they might take you even more time to edit, but they will ground your video in reality.
And last but not least, reverb and spatial audio.
A voice in a small room sounds different than one in a church.
A little reverb can help match the sound to the space. 2. Background noise. This is the secret to believability. One of the biggest mistakes in sound design is having total silence between dialogue or key moments.
How are you today? Doing well. How about you?
It makes everything feel unnatural. Adding a low, subtle layer of ambient noise creates a sense of place. For example, a city scene might have distant honking, muffled chatter, or occasional sirens.
A forest would have rustling leaves, wind passing through the trees, birds. You get my point. Even if you're not consciously hearing these sounds, your mind is still taking it in and making it feel more real.
Sound design is about creating an immersive experience where the viewer feels the scene.
Just remember that sound design is a whole practice and a whole job title. You're not going to be an expert after watching this video or even 10 videos on sound design. It's a practice. Little by little, you'll start tuning your ear as to where things go and where you should put certain sounds. Maybe I should put a whoosh here. Maybe I should put a riser here. There's no exact science to it. It's just a feeling, and that's something that you develop with time.
We've broken down everything: scripting, voiceover, shot listing, shooting, lighting, and even editing. But there's something even more important, and without it, none of this even matters. That's mindset.
At some point, you decide who you want to be. At some point, you decide if you want to be a YouTuber, these are kind of the sacrifices that you have to make. I, for example, am sacrificing my weekends just so I can chase this dream. There are going to be a lot of sacrifices that you have to make for making a video that who knows if it's even going to get any views. It's about building that resistance against the resistance, right? The resistance of not wanting to make the video because of how long it's going to take or how many steps there are. Although this is only my second video where I'm actually really trying to make something really nice, I realize that there will always be doubt and there's always going to be some hard days, but it's just about pushing through. It's not pretty, you know, it's just doing it because you said that you would, and that's it. Because you said you would, you should. The mindset that you have to have coming into this is that yes, it's going to be hard, there's going to be some hard days, it's gonna suck, but at the end you have a finished video, you have a finished product, and you have evidence for all the hard work that you've done. I'm building evidence to myself that I am who I say that I am. I'm a YouTuber, and this is just what comes with the territory. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed and liked. It took me a long time for this video, so yeah, thank you.